What it do? What it do, boo? What it is, fam? Class is in session. Class has begun. And you better sit down for this one, okay? Hear me out. This is going to be very long. It's going to be a journey together. Very similar to the journeys of our souls. For eternity. Together. Later, we'll discuss that in the video. As you can probably tell from the title, this is quite a serious topic, if you will. Okay? And what I would even consider a spiritual pandemic. Okay? Now, some ASMR. Liquid Death, please sponsor this video. Because I love you. I love you so much. You know what I love about Liquid Death? I thoroughly love the fact that it's liquid death, but it gives life-sustaining sustenance. Life-sustaining sustenance. Oh. Oh. Whoa. Crazy. Okay. Very serious, guys. I'm gonna try to not be as boring. In my last video, I was very boring, okay? I'm gonna try to not be as boring. Ooh. Hitting. Bury it alive. Yep, that's what we're doing. This is hitting. Oh my god. That's good. Okay. For this class, here's what you're gonna need. An open mind. An open heart, and you're going to need to leave judgment at the door, because at the end of our lives we actually do not get judged by anyone but ourselves. So why don't you judge yourself when you listen to this video, as I have also done. Okay. Now, where do we begin? Okay, I have a lot of notes here. A lot of notes. Oh yeah, so what you're gonna need some sustenance. Some serious sustenance, because, like I said, this is about to be a journey. We're gonna be traversing together, jaunting. But it's not gonna be short, it might be a little long. So put it on 2x speed, maybe listen to it twice. Grab some sustenance. That's beverage, that's snack, whatever. Yeah, grab your Bible, grab your open mind, your open heart, and let us begin. Okay, the spiritual reasons you shouldn't become a bop. It is a pandemic, spiritually. It's a soul's pandemic, okay? Why short-term decisions are going to impact your soul's eternal path. Now, I want you to stay if you feel called to stay, and I want you to come as you are, right? Whether you are not even understanding of what a bop is, or whether you are currently a bop yourself. Okay? Now, this is a judgment-free space. Again, the only person you should judge is yourself, because that's what we do at the end of our lives. Is we judge ourselves, we look at our life, and we see how we could have done things differently. We see how we could have shown up differently, how we could have treated others differently. We see the pain, we feel the pain that we made others feel, right? We're not looking to judge each other in this space, because we also don't judge each other in the afterlife either. We judge ourselves. Okay, how many times am I going to say that? Not sure. No. Judgment free. If you're curious, or you're feeling lost, or you're already walking this path, this video is for you. This video is for everyone who has a soul. Shoot, let your dog listen to it. Your dog has a soul too. Not an individual soul, a collective soul, but your dog has a soul that literally will split off into its own individual soul, but as it grows along its path and its journey, right? Okay, that's for another day. we're gonna dive into this. It's gonna be pretty deep, and I'm really hopeful that y'all will really resonate with some of this information. Speaking of resonate, we're gonna pray right now. Please bow your head, close your eyes, and pray to whatever you believe in. Okay. God, please hear our hearts, hear our concerns. Please let this information that you provide for us sink into our hearts and even deeper into our souls, as we are micro expressions of our souls. And let the information permeate that needs to permeate, so that we can right any of our wrongs and direct our paths to our higher purpose and our higher spiritual being calling. Open our hearts, open our ears. Let us live from love, not fear. Amen. So, the spiritual reasons why I shouldn't become a bop. For anyone who doesn't know what a bop is, it's basically today's sex worker. Now, it's really long-term not going to serve your soul's journey. Not just in this life, but for eternity. Okay? I'm not here to judge. No one's perfect. None of us are. Right? But that's why we're here together. On planet Earth, right here, right now. Learning, growing, getting closer to source. Returning to what we're made out of. Divine energy. And we're made to love and do something bigger and greater. This is about truth and finding a better way. This is not about shame. Shame is out of the vocabulary. Shame is not this video. Okay? This is not shame. I'm coming to you as a mother, and sometimes mothers say things that are hard for you to hear. But I promise you, if you really take this information to heart, we're going to hit different angles. You're going to come out the other side glad that you sat and listened. So, we're going to elevate together each other. And by the way, this is for she, he, them, he's, hers, shims. This is for all peoples. Anyone with a soul. With an individual soul. Or even a we, she, him, they, them soul. If you got a they, them soul, you need to watch this too. Okay? You got a soul, you need to watch this. Okay. I have a lot of info to cover here. And I do want to preface this with a little bit of my own background. Guys, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I never claim to be perfect. I will never claim to be perfect. Again, that's why we're all here. It's because we're not perfect, right? And I completely get it. So, I've been there in my own way. For years, I actually worked as a bottle service girl. Wearing two-piece outfits, which, I mean, I wore more than what most people and myself even would wear to a beach. Like, I'm hitting them string bikinis at the beach. Them stringers. Be so for real. I'm trying to get that tan, okay? Anyways, yeah, I don't go on the beach, I go on yachts. Which is also not true. I wish I went on yachts. Washington State is lame. Okay. Anyways, so I worked as a bottle server girl. I actually loved it. I love music. I love people. Like, it was so fun. But it, of course, led to many misunderstandings, not only within my own community, but within my own family tree. And they thought I was doing something else. They were accusing me of being a bop. Which I'm like, okay, fine. It's like a gateway, maybe, to that. I've also, in some of the lower parts of my life, have actually applied to bikini stands. Okay? Those are times when, yeah, I was a little more desperate. I never did it, thank God. And nothing against people that have. Again, no shame, no blame. This is a learning experience. This is education. This is a journey, right? And we're learning together as we go. Okay. Yeah, so survival does push us to places we've never imagined that we would be in our lives, and beyond that, just for some short-term fixes, right? Now, let's recognize that these experiences are actually part of larger societal and spiritual frameworks, and we're going to dive into all this together. Today, I'm going to be mixing a blend of a lot of things. One thing, spirituality, of course, science. I love science. Everything Kabbalah, everything Bible. You see these books? Half Price bookstore. Where you at? Where you at? You're right here. You're right here with me. I love you. Please bury me in Half Price bookstore. Okay? Now, we're going to explore how you can choose something that lifts you up instead, for this lifetime and all the lifetimes to come. We're also going to talk about reincarnation. We're going to hit so many different angles here. Basically, the overall gist, guys, is we're actually here to be more aligned with divine truth and to get closer to source and to return and evolve to source. So, the first chapter we're going to dive into is why we're drawn into becoming a bop for the need of money, survival, and the human struggle. The reality of survival. Basically, as we all know, money keeps us alive, food, shelter, safety, and especially for younger folks, the work might feel like the only way out. No one wakes up dreaming of this. It's often a last resort, right? Now, usually people have so many odds stacked against them that they're like, oh, this is all I can do. And that's not true. With societal pressure and then the lack of guidance, and even perhaps generational cycles, and maybe even DNA code. Okay. My dogs. Shh. Low vibrational energy, right? This work can really pull you in. Social media shows all the glitz and glam of doing this work, and ultimately the reality is that these people that look like their lives are so perfect, they've got perfect this, perfect that, cars, this and that, they can buy their families cars, whatever. At the end of the day, even in their own households, there's actually a lot of lower vibrational energies that are stagnant, if you will. Eerie. Okay. Next little section here. Dr. Gabor Mate. If I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry, okay? I'm not perfect. But he has a lot of wisdom. Oh my gosh, I eat it up, guys. Like, he's got books, he's got things for days, on the interwebs here, about vices and addictions and depression. He's an expert on addiction, and he says it's not about the vice itself, it's about suppression of emotion. Depression, suppressing emotion, right? A void that people are trying to fill. And the bop work can actually become a bandage for deeper wounds, even if people might not want to be upfront and open and honest about that. Being a bop doesn't actually heal these wounds. It actually makes them worse over time. So the soul does crave connection and purpose, not temporary relief. Addiction is suppressed trauma, essentially, and unmet emotional needs, not a moral failing. Again, judgment free. If you're a bop right now, I freaking love you, I think you're freaking awesome, and you're not a moral failure. What you need to do is just correct and right your path, your soul's path. This was a part of your soul's journey to actually do this for a reason, and it's to overcome some of these deeper rooted traumas and addictions or whatever else that might be going on. Maybe not even from this life, maybe from a past life. Dare I say from a future life, things that need to be worked out. Who knows? Things are so interwoven that it's beyond us a lot of times. Okay? The bop industry often becomes an emotional escape rather than a true solution. Next chapter here, we're going to talk about the trap of instant gratification and the neurological impacts and lessons on dopamine cycles. I'm really proud of myself. I'm really like flying through some of this info here. Hope it's been good so far, guys. Neurological impacts. Dopamine cycles and why seeking validation through Bob work leads to emotional emptiness, which is not what we want. We want emotional fulfillment, guys. We want soul fulfillment. We want eternal fulfillment. Let's break this down into the different neurological impacts and dopamine cycles and how seeking validation in this work is going to negatively impact, okay? Basically, as we all know, dopamine is a neurotransmitter central to the brain's reward system, influencing your motivation, your pleasure, learning, operates in cycles tied to anticipation, action, and reward. So here's how it works. We'll start with the anticipation phase. When you expect something rewarding, like food and social approval, or even intimacy, dopamine will spike in that area in the nucleus accumbens. My apologies, sir. If you're a neuroscientist, just, fill in the blanks. So this isn't the pleasure itself, but the drive to pursue the pleasure, right? Think of it as more of the wanting stage. The next is the action phase. So in this stage, as you act to achieve the reward, for example, eating or connecting with someone, the dopamine keeps you engaged. It's like fuel for the behavior, okay? Then you have your reward phase. Now, when this phase hits, your dopamine either stabilizes or drops, right? When the reward comes. Now, depending on whether the outcome matches the expectation, if it's better than you expected, you get a better hit. If it's underwhelming, your levels crash much faster. So over time, the brain will actually learn what's worth chasing and what's not. Now, a lot of dopamine cycles can actually vary, and short-term cycles like eating a snack can be resolved very quickly. Long-term cycles like building a career, those sustain dopamine through delayed gratification. Now, the brain's prefrontal cortex helps regulate these, balancing instant urges with future goals. But when cycles get hijacked by intense, frequent rewards, things can shift. Now, the BOP work is validation seeking in nature. Like any behavior tied to validation, plugged into the system, if someone seeks validation through BOP work, say, feeling desired and affirmed, the act might trigger dopamine in the anticipation phase and reward phase. So the anticipation phase of BOP work would be preparing for the client or video or whatever, or content. The reward phase would be receiving the attention and receiving the payment, the conversation, whatever it might be, the gifts, the bags, the luxury, this and that. So the sex itself naturally boosts dopamine, and alongside the oxytocin and serotonin, you're going to amplify the neurological payoff. Well, this sounds great. But you're also amplifying the neurological payoff, and studies do show that the sexual activity increases dopamine by 50 to 200% above baseline, similar to mild stimulants or even eating. Eating feels great. Here's the catch, okay? Lean into this. The catch is essentially, let me shift my position here, just get like, so, the catch is that external validation is a very shaky reward. Unlike internal goals like mastering a skill, doing well in your career, it depends on others' reactions, right? Which are very unpredictable. So if the validation doesn't land, or it feels transactional, which it absolutely is transactional, rather than genuine, right? The dopamine drop can be extremely steep. And over time, this can create a treadmill effect. So you're chasing the next hit to offset the crash, right? But the baseline satisfaction will erode. And this is where the emotional emptiness creeps in the back door, creeps right on in. And you're like, oh snap, where did that come from? So why emotional emptiness? Well, when you seek validation through bop work, it leads to fewer neurological and psychological fulfillment. And I'm going to give you some of these examples here as to why. Number 1, desensitization. We love desensitization. No, we don't. Repeated dopamine will spike from short-term rewards to dull the system. The ventral, I can't even pronounce some of these neurological, technological names, but the ventral tegmental area. I think I actually nailed that. Okay, shoot, pasties. Okay, so which pumps dopamine gets overworked, and receptors will downregulate. So once what has felt thrilling will become meh, to say in the least, in the slightest. Think of it as needing more coffee to feel awake. Speaking of, we ain't playing no games out here. It's like 9 at night. 10? 11:48. What a good number. Say hi to Toby. Toby is one of my 2 dogs. If you need to use the restroom, quick intermission, it's about 22 minutes in here. This is a great time. So Toby is one of my little babies here. He's a mini pincher, and then I got Dulce. Yeah, my little babies. I love them. You know? Side note, the cool thing about dogs, so as I was saying at the beginning of my intro, dogs actually have souls, but they're technically group souls, and the more love dogs receive, because love is a frequency of vibration, so the higher their vibration and their frequency goes, the more they will start to develop and branch off from the group soul and actually become an individual personality, and it takes love to do that. So if you have some dogs that just seem like they don't have a personality, love on them more, try to awaken their soul to detach from the group soul and be an individual. Yes. And then if you have a dog with a lot of personality, don't be sad when they die. It's just they're coming back, and they're probably going to be a human at that point because they finally have a lot of personality. They have developed that over time, over however long. Okay, back to desensitization. What am I doing with my audio setup, guys? Okay. Okay, yeah. So we'll just start over at desensitization within the neurological network sector that we're talking about here. Okay. Repeated dopamine spikes from the short-term rewards can dull the system. Again, the ventral tegmental. Ooh. DaBaby should use that in one of his songs. That was really nice vibes. Which pumps dopamine gets overworked and receptors will down-regulate. Okay? What was once felt to be very thrilling becomes very meh. Think of it like needing more coffee to feel awake. Studies on reward-seeking behaviors, for example, even gambling, show this pattern. And Gabor Mate, he actually talks a lot about gambling is another addiction, right? Of trying to suppress and depress your emotions, trying to cover up an actual other truth. People get addicted to things. They don't need what they're addicted to. They need the feeling of basically covering up their trauma, of being able to not feel their trauma in those moments of gambling and whatever else. whatever other addictions that they have. Okay. Now, this pattern, Bob work would follow suit because it's a validation loop. Now, next section here is going to be, well, this is underneath the same umbrella, so mismatch with deeper needs. Dopamine actually thrives on novelty and pursuit, not stability. Let me get closer to you. Validation from Bob work might scratch an itch for worth and attention, but it often sidesteps deeper emotional circuits, like those tied to attachment, oxytocin-driven, or self-esteem, which is more serotonin-based. If the work feels misaligned with personal identity or long-term connection, the reward feels very extremely hollow, empty gratification, empty emotion. There's emotional fatigue as well. The amygdala and insula. Ooh. It's another good rhyme perhaps the baby could borrow. I'm out here rhyming. Okay. Hopefully this hasn't been boring, guys. I'm trying not to be robotic. So with emotional fatigue, processes emotions, your amygdala and your insula are the things that process emotion. They get strained by performative intimacy, constantly managing boundaries or suppressing feelings, common in Bob work, will tax the brain's limbic system. And over time, this can blunt emotional responsiveness, leaving a void where fulfillment should be. Guys, coffee's getting to me. I'm like, yeah, that's okay. Cycle dependency. If validation becomes the main dopamine driver, the brain might neglect slower, richer cycles like building trust or creative pursuits. Now, it's like living on fast food. So it'll fill you up, but it won't nourish you. And eventually it's going to completely deplete your body and put you into 6 feet under. That's fast food, right? But Bob work is basically fast food for the soul and will do the same thing. It's going to put your soul under, i.e. lower vibrational frequencies and lower vibrational tiers within the astral realm. Now, I don't even know if this coffee is getting to me. Okay, so cycle dependency. If validation becomes the main dopamine driver, the brain might neglect. Oh yeah, we read that. Okay, so we read that in my notes. Okay. Emptiness emerges when the quick hits are not sustaining and meaningful. So you're just basically digging a deep well of emptiness, and that will probably end up leading to a spike in suicides, which is another video. I have a lot to say about suicides. So the bigger picture, basically, it's not just unique to Bob work, it's also unique to social media as well, with likes or casual hookups with all the different platforms out there. It's the same thing. The key is a validation trap. So when your worth is really hinging on external feedback, on external factors, the brain's reward system will actually get stuck in overdrive, but the soul or your psyche or your consciousness is going to starve. Research on hypersexual behavior shows dopamine dysregulation correlating to lower life satisfaction. That's in the current life, but in the afterlife, you're also going to have very, low, and we'll get more into that, but so I'm not trying to scare anyone, and this isn't information to make anyone worry. This is information to understand the risks, the rewards, and also well, there's no rewards. Well, there are rewards, actually. The rewards for deciding to not do this sort of work, right? So yeah, the risks versus the rewards on either side of the platform, whatever side of the continuum you're on. No shame to the game. But so yeah, I mean, it's not completely inevitable that this will happen to everyone, because everyone's a little bit different with the whole like neurological stuff, but everyone's brain pretty much has the same, except for like psychopaths, which psychopaths are technically not fully developed souls. They're kind of like more baby souls. That's a different video. Because they have less consciousness. When you have less consciousness, you can make some psycho decisions. You don't feel remorse, you don't feel empathy, you don't feel the pain. Context, of course, matters. Someone in BOP work for autonomy or survival might not feel the emptiness in this current life if their emotional core is not tied to the job. But when it's about proving your worth, the neurological roller coaster can leave you extremely drained. And the thing is, there's probably a ton of bops that would be like, oh, I'm not tying this job to my worth. Well, let's keep moving on here, because we got a lot more to cover. Oh yeah, so we're gonna go a little bit more into my personal story. A little expansion here on that. Basically, chasing quick money, with even bottle service too, right? Or validation is addictive because it's instant, masking the real need for self-worth and for growth. When I was serving bottles, I thought I was in control. Cash in the hand, a lot of attention. Mind you, not the attention that I want or deserve for the amount of work that I've done on myself, on my soul. But it is a huge cycle of emptiness, guys, and my family's assumptions hurt. And they hurt even more because they knew I wasn't a bop. They knew I was going to do bottles, but they accused me of being a bop because they knew it would hurt my feelings. So that's kind of why it hurt me, to be honest, because we raw, we real, okay? Yeah. Anyways, and I'm actually, to be quite very serious, I'm actually probably a perfect contender for a bop. I technically I really don't even have a emergency contact. My emergency contact, the TikTok trend of, emergency contact, I'm like, it's so funny, haha. It's really funny, the fact that I don't have an emergency contact. Why is that, you ask? That's for another video. Yeah, so I should be a bop. I should be. With my life and how things have happened in my life, I should absolutely be a bop. But guess who my emergency contact is? Source, divine. That's my emergency contact, and that's the reason why I have not become a bop. So, oh man. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. My family's judgments weren't completely wrong, because I am putting out a pretty bad vibe. I was just trying to survive. I wasn't thriving. Though I love to dance, and I love music. I think in a future life I might be a DJ. So, some more spiritual truths. Basically, ultimately, we are responsible for our actions, and our thoughts and our words. We're all extremely responsible for those things. And it's not to scare you or anything. This is to empower each other, right? Every choice. Dulce, please. Mama, please lay down. Every choice. Thank you. Every choice ripples through this life, the last one, and the next. The Kabbalah actually teaches us a lot about our soul's energy and how it shapes our destiny. Let's choose the light over the shadow. And the shadow is important, guys. not telling you to run from the shadow. You're running from your shadow when you're trying to fulfill yourself with these lower vibrational jobs, or even like gambling, or even whatever you're addicted to. There's so many different forms of addiction. So, Okay, let's take a quick intermission. I'm going to try to calm my dogs down, and I'm also going to charge my phone. They don't want this information out. Dulce, Mama, calm down. Shh. Lay down. Lay down. Mama, lay down. Go lay down. Please, go lay down, Mama. Alright, guys. So we're about a third of the way through my content, and it's about 30 minutes in, so I'm guessing this will be about an hour and a half video. Why do I feel like is it just me, or is it I kind of look like washed out? That's okay. We progress through the ripples of time together. Now, our next section is about reincarnation and spiritual consequences. Okay? And a lot of the harmful things that can happen with being a bop. So what if your soul carries the weight of every choice across lifetimes? What if? I'm here to tell you it does. As does mine. All of our choices. So today we're going to actually explore tonight, fam, tonight. I am the night. Batman. Nonetheless. I look really washed out. So what if your soul carries the weight of every choice across lifetimes? And we're going to explore why basically chasing these fleeting pleasures are going to trap you into a karmic cycle and karmic debt. A key question to consider is going to be, how does how does reincarnation actually tie into long-term spiritual growth, and why does it warn against certain paths? Dang, that liquid death. Reincarnation. What is it? Let's define it. It's basically a belief that the soul returns to a new body after death, experiencing multiple lives to learn, to grow, to resolve past actions, behaviors, what have you. A more simplified explanation for those who want it is basically think of it as a school. Earth is a school. Even the astral realm and the afterlife is also a school. We're literally continuously learning. So why not learn today? Learn you right now. Right? Learn today. No. Your soul is going to keep coming back until it masters these lessons. Or it might even be shipped out to other universes. In a more cultural context, because I do have people that watch my videos of all different backgrounds and walks of life, is these beliefs are also in Hinduism, Buddhism, and all of the mystical traditions of the Jewish Kabbalah. So some more of a long-term implication is basically each life will build on its previous life. And that actually shapes your soul's eternal journey. So let's talk a little bit about karma, which is basically a cosmic ledger. For anyone who's like, oh, Bitcoin ledger. It's another way to think about it is these imprints of what we do on our soul. It's imprinted into our cosmic ledger. These things don't just disappear. So let's define karma. What is it? What is karma? It's the law of cause and effect. Actions in one life ripple into the next, and karma requires rebalancing. Now, of course, rebalancing is a large, long, lengthy process. And if you look actually over however long you've been born, you've probably had at least one large arching theme, if you will, of what your soul is trying to learn. You could probably look back at all your biggest life lessons in your life right now, and you could say, these are kind of all under the same umbrella from a different angle. Mine is love. And we can go into that in a different video. Okay. With this rebalancing process, positive actions elevate the soul, elevate the vibration. Negative ones, like becoming a bop, or things that are selfish and harmful behavior towards yourself and others, create debts that must be repaid. And the scary thing about being a bop is when you have so many souls on the other side of that screen, you're responsible for all those debts. Just like me right now, whoever watches this video, I'm extremely responsible for everything that I say, and therefore I should proceed with caution, because I will be held accountable for what I say, not by our local governments, but by the cosmic government of divine order. Whew, guys, I'm sweating. My brow is sweating. Okay. Yeah. Unresolved karma basically forces the soul to repeat lessons, so that is why you should learn today and not tomorrow, not in your future lifetimes. Learn now. And these repeated lessons are often through suffering and challenging circumstances. We've all had times in our lives where we're like, why is this happening? And it's because the soul needs to learn this journey, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, basically, in a lighter sense, you want to imagine karma as a boomerang. What you throw out is going to come right back to you. Okay? And if it doesn't come back in this lifetime, it will absolutely come back in the next. Now, let's go into Kabbalah reincarnation with a Kabbalistic view. So, in Jewish mysticism, which I'm obsessed with, yes, it's a healthy obsession. Basically, in the Kabbalah, reincarnation is called Gilgul Neshamot. Gilgul Neshamot, the cycle of souls. Now, what is the purpose? Basically, souls return to rectify past mistakes and perfect them through the unity with divine. We are divine channels. What is the Zohar? Which is a huge key Kabbalistic text. Basically, in the Zohar, they suggest that souls reincarnate to fulfill mitzvot, commandments left undone. That's from Zohar 131a. Now, the argument here is basically a life of materialism or harm, i.e., being a bop in today's words, delays this rectification of your soul, and it actually is chaining the soul to lower states. The Zohar warns against chasing vanity as it distances oneself from God's light, from divine light, from your own divinity. You're basically stepping further away from the truth, and the truth is you. You are the truth, so you're stepping further away from yourself. You're not loving yourself, therefore you're not loving the divine or God, right? Because you are part of source, you are part of divine, and so if you don't love yourself, you're also not loving them. Okay, so now some biblical hints at reincarnation. The more subtle evidence is going to be, while not explicit, some interpret the passages of reincarnation from Matthew chapter 17, verses 12 through 13, where it says that where John the Baptist, as Elijah, is reborn. And then, of course, more of the moral framework from the Bible. It just emphasizes the consequences within Galatians 6:7. You reap what you sow, aligning with karma. The anti-bop lesson. Anti-bop. I don't have anything against bops, and no one ever should, because we judge ourselves, remember? And if I trigger anyone in this video, that means I'm mirroring a reflection of something you actually need to work on. Just as anytime I consume any content and am triggered, I immediately need to think, okay, why am I triggered by that? What's the lesson here? What does my soul need to learn? How can I make peace with this, whatever it might be? But yeah, so the anti-bop lesson. It's so funny. Proverbs 21:21. Ooh, a mirror number. Speaking of, whoever pursues righteousness finds life. And it contrasts with the specific style of fleeting gain, implying eternal loss of the soul. One moment. Don't say it, please lay down, Mama. Lay down. Go lay down. Okay. I'm actually going to check and make sure I don't have... Oh, snap. I don't know why this looks so grainy. Maybe it doesn't, I'm just being weird. I'm going to check real fast what my power is at so my phone does not die. They'll say, please lay down, Mama. Please lay down. What does it say? 68. Wait. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. There we go. It's like a little bit better. Okay. So, the science of reincarnation. There's no direct proofs. Well, in the essence of what we can logically say or believe, but there is direct proof because there's plenty of science on near-death experiences. Actually, one of my favorite books is by Dr. Brian Weiss, and all of his books are fantastic. You guys, Dr. Brian Weiss, I mean, he's no small feat within the sector of education. He went to one of the top schools, like, he's a genius. And he has done a lot of work on the studies of reincarnation, basically through past life regression. So, direct proof? Yeah, there actually is direct proof. And there's direct studies. I think by saying no direct proof, it's more of if you're looking at things from just a limited space of, oh, I haven't experienced near-death experience myself, and therefore, how can it be true? Well, plenty of science-backed data on how it's true. Anyways, yeah, so near-death experiences are pretty intriguing, and past life memories are also extremely intriguing and offer a lot of hints and nods. Think about some of the things about your own self, your own personality, where you're like, why is it that I just like this thing or this food or this people group or this? Maybe you're drawn to something very specific and it's perhaps not how you grew up. It's probably from a past life. Or have you ever had those moments where you're like, oh wow, I just know this one thing and I haven't heard it from anywhere else. It's just something I just internally just know. Probably from a past life, an impression of one of your past lives, right? Okay. Basically, another doctor, Dr. Ian Stevenson's research at the UVA documented children recalling verifiable past life details. It's the 20 cases suggestive of reincarnation. Y'all are going to need to study this on your own. There's a lot of information out about this, and as soon as you understand that this is real, reincarnation is real, like, you're going to be like, oh crap. I gotta start correcting my soul right now. Start now. Don't wait. The long-term implication. So if consciousness persists, a Bob life, which it does persist, a Bob life of indulgence could imprint negative patterns on the soul, affecting future incarnations, right? A little bit of a bridge to spirituality is basically science suggests the energy of the soul isn't destroyed, only transferred, which is the first law of thermodynamics, and we'll get into that. The long-term stakes, of course, as we already know, the spiritual costs, the lifestyle of chasing fame, of chasing pleasure, or harm, accumulates karmic debt on a large scale because, as we know, like I was saying earlier, the internet, you can reach a lot more people, which also means you can accumulate a lot more debt and delay your soul's spiritual growth over time. Now, I'm gonna actually I love me a little pumpkin king, you know? Okay, oh yeah, that's great. That's great. That little back support there. Ooh. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Okay. And again, another Kabbalistic warning. Not to have fear in people, but this is an educational video. The Sefer Habir, which I am sorry for butchering that, ties frivolous living to spiritual exile, requiring more lives to repair. So the more debt you rack up, the more attached you're going to be to planet Earth in general, or even being shipped out. Your soul could be shipped out when it's ready to reincarnate to a very low vibrational place. Okay. More biblical support here. Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 2, where it states, "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity." Critiques empty pursuits, hinting at their futility. I almost said fruit. Across lifetimes. So another scientific tie-in. Basically, patterns of behavior might encode into consciousness, which it does. Per Dr. Stevenson's findings, dragging the soul back to repeated cycles. This is not what we're here for, guys. We're not here to repeat cycles. We're here to break them and elevate. We're going up. You're either going up or you're going down, or you're plateauing. This is what we want. We don't want this. We don't want this. Okay. Every choice echoes into eternity. Why would you want to risk your soul's freedom for a moment of thrill in the ripple of time, the time continuum? We are really actually called, you guys, collectively to a higher living. Reincarnation basically teaches that life is a marathon and not a sprint. The sprint would be one lifetime. Karma ensures balance. The Kabbalah and the Bible and science all warn us against these small, short-term traps. So we're going to look into more about what the Kabbalah says in this next section here. Yep. Yes, queen. If you ever want to balance some of your chakras, get deeply rooted in my red chakra truth right here, my root red chakra. Just take a little bite of something red, you know? Sometimes before important calls for business, I'll actually, oh snap, you hear that? It's crispy. Juicy. Oh snap. The flavor is there. The flavor's flavoring, yeah? Anyways, sometimes I'll take a bite of like yellow or orange, yellow for the solar plexus chakra, bell pepper to really ground myself and be more confident for work. Eat specific colors for your different chakras and getting them in alignment. Okay. Spiritual responsibility of the soul's journey. This is the Kabbalah that we're getting into. Basically, essentially, the Kabbalah, if you guys don't know, is focusing on teachings in metaphysical and spiritual, which my two favorite topics right now that I'm just eating alive are metaphysics and physics. It's a match made in heaven, which I'm sorry to let you know, but heaven's actually not real. And we'll get into that in another video. It's real in a sense, which we'll get into. So, Kabbalistic thoughts, ethical principles, they're rooted in Jewish mysticism and can be applied to understanding perspectives on intimacy, human dignity, and purpose. Sacredness of the body. Now, the Kabbalistic views the human body as a vessel for the divine, for divine sparks, a microcosm in the cosmic order, if you will. Intimacy, when aligned with spiritual intent, like in marriage, for example, elevates these sparks. Now, bop work, if transactional or devoid of deeper connection, might be seen as missing this sacred potential through the individual's inherent divinity, though the individual's inherent divinity remains intact. Now, it's a little too bright. Intention and energy. The Kabbalah teaches and emphasizes intention through kavana in all actions. Sexual energy is powerful and it's tied to your sephira of Yesod, which is your foundation. This governs intimacy and creation. So, Bop work, when it's driven by necessity and coercion, can be interpreted as misalignment of this energy, while choice and empowerment might shift the spiritual lens. Okay? Now, your tikkun, your soul's correction, tikkun olam, repairing the world, right? The Kabbalah stresses healing the world through righteous acts. Bop workers, like all people, would contribute to the tikkun olam if their work fosters connection or survival, but exploitation within the industry might be seen as a fracture needing repair, reflecting broader cosmic imbalances. So guys, what we do on an individual level actually builds karmic collectively on a universe level. Tikkun, which is the repairing of the soul to return to the divine, right? So with Bop work, you can actually get trapped in Yesod, which is the lower vibrational energy, the lower energy of desire and survival, instead of rising to the Tiferet, which is beauty, balance, and connection to source. The soul's accountability for thoughts, words, and actions across the lifetimes that we endure, that we have collectively together. Okay. Judgment and compassion. Kabbalists often do warn against judging others, as, again, reiterating what I was telling you, we shouldn't judge others, but we also actually don't get judged at the end of our lifetime. We judge ourselves. The divine doesn't even judge us. We judge ourselves. And then we want to come back and correct and right our wrongs because we see that we could have done things differently. We are only a fraction of our soul here, guys. Like, your body, your energy, your this, your that, like this right here is a small part of your soul. Your whole soul doesn't come down here. It couldn't, because it would get freaking mutilated, and you're too precious for that. So a part of your soul comes here, and we are condensed versions of our soul. But, so, Kabbalists also do warn about judging others preemptively and in general, and their paths, as each soul has a unique tikkun, rectification. Bop work might be a soul's journey through a hardship or strength, deserving empathy rather than condemnation, aligning with the attribute of chesed, loving kindness. Duality of pleasure. Pleasure, including sexual pleasure, is a divine gift. In the Kabbalah, in the Bible, what have you, and across many cultures and people groups, but its purpose matters. Bop work tied to fleeting gratification might contrast with the idea of unifying physical and spiritual realms, yet the worker's dignity is diminished, only the context is questioned. I can tell I'm about to have my voice escape my body. Snap. Oh, snap. Okay, guys. This isn't about me. This is about we. The Zohar, a Kabbalistic spiritual text, says our actions create vessels for light or for darkness. Selling your body might fill your wallet, but it risks emptying your soul's vessel over lifetimes. Every action we take will influence not just this life, but future incarnations. The Zohar is a very foundational piece of the Kabbalah, and it's going to give you, if you haven't like started reading into that, for sure, get you a copy. But there's insights into the nature of the soul and all the spiritual purpose that we have as divine beings. We are each divine beings. The soul as divine light. We're halfway through. Nice. So this might be a 2-hour long video. The Zohar describes the soul as a fragment of divine radiance and descending from the upper worlds, which they call the At-Zilut, to inhabit the body and elevate the material realm, which is found in Zohar 115b. So its purpose is to refine itself through connection to God, Source, Divine, and others. Now, Bob work, if it's transactional or validation driven rather than soulful, might tether the soul to lower impulses, the kill pot, or the shells of impurity, stunting the ascent and dimming the light. Union and holiness. So the Zohar ties sexuality to the sacred union of opposites, duality, like the masculine and feminine aspects of God, Teferet and Shekinah, meant to mirror divine harmony, which is found in the Zohar 381a. Sex for money or external approval could actually fractal and fracture your holiness. You're giving yourself away, and you're reducing a unifying act to a physical exchange. This misalignment might burden the soul with fragmentation, pulling it away from its spiritual mission and purpose. Now, rectification through struggle. Every soul has a tikkun, which is a unique rectification, to heal in this lifetime the cosmic flaws, which is found in Zohar 297a. Wow. Bop work might be part of a soul's journey, perhaps through resilience or survival. The Zohar warns that prolonged exposure to coarseness, lust without love, risks entangling the soul in the Sitra Artra. I think I mispronounced that. Which is the other side of darkness, so it could delay its return to purity, leaving it restless and or unfulfilled. I think I need like a quick 2-minute intermission because my voice is starting to go slightly crazy and I do want to charge. So 2-minute intermission, guys. Okay. Class is back in session. I'm actually going to leave that plugged in for a little bit, so hopefully y'all can hear me. Because I don't think I'm going to be as loud. But, getting back into this. From the Zohar's perspective, anything that distances your soul from its divine origin or purpose, like chasing fleeting validation instead of eternal connection, could be bad for it. Bob work isn't inherently condemned. Again, we are the only people that judge ourselves. We literally judge our own selves, but it traps someone in a cycle of emotional emptiness, and it can disconnect them from their higher self. Which might weigh your soul down with spiritual static. The Zohar's lens is less about moral judgment and more about cosmic consequences on the grander scheme. A soul meant to shine could flicker. Yo, you are a diamond. Do not be flickering. You need to shine bright. Okay? Now, next section is going to be on some more biblical truths, canonical and apocryphal, which I love the Apocrypha. I love it. I love it because anything that people, especially officials, say we shouldn't do, usually the opposite is true. You know, decipher these things for yourself. But yeah, the Apocrypha is just fantastic. So, some biblical truths. You know, it might be time. The eyes are getting sore. The eyes are getting sore. Basically, let's start with Proverbs, verse 31. Proverbs chapter 31, verse 10. A woman of valor who can find, her worth is far beyond rubies. So your worth isn't in your body or labor, it's in your eternal spirit, right? The dangers of selling one's soul for material gain. In the Surah, which is found in the Apocrypha, chapter 9, verse 6, do not give yourself to prostitutes, lest you lose your inheritance. That's not only your inheritance in this lifetime, but your spiritual inheritance. This isn't about just money, it's about your spiritual legacy. Your spiritual legacy is more important than your financial short-term legacy. Now, the wisdom of Solomon, which is also found in the Apocrypha, chapter 8, verse 7, she teaches temperance, prudence, justice, and courage. True wealth is in virtues that last forever, not fleeting trades. Oh, Mary Magdalene's Gospel, which is more of the Gnostic sector. I actually just purchased a book on this. Very excited to read. And I actually recently purchased a deck on Mary Magdalene, which is Jesus's mother. And when I did pull some cards connecting to the divine about this topic, the card that really resonated with me the most was the rose. And I do want to read you an excerpt from this. It's a really beautifully written deck by Megan Watterson. And she's brilliant too, she's very smart. She studied at Harvard, theology. That's really cool. So, let's transition into Mary Magdalene. And the rose, I trust in divine timing. Everything comes from within. What a beautiful, beautiful card. Look at that rose. Okay? So I do want to read the rose section from Megan's book here. The rose, I trust in divine timing. I think I might actually get you guys. See? Let's go ahead and transition back ever so slightly. Okay, y'all, here we are. Welcome to my Zohar. Back to reality. Mary Magdalene. The rose. Everything comes from within. So much of our lives, for so many of us, is focused on what happens outside of us, on what we produce or what we do. And what we produce or earn or accumulate is then linked to a sense of self-worth, a sense of purpose, and even a sense of status or importance in the world. What we have forgotten is the majesty of what cannot be seen or quantified. We have forgotten about cultivating a capacity to love and to be loved. We have forgotten that trending to the essence of who we are is our most important occupation. We have forgotten that the most powerful contribution we can ever offer is not actually something we can point to outside of us, sell, market, or frame, and put up on the wall or up on a screen for praise. The most powerful contribution we have to offer the world is the love we become. That's a tearjerker. Many of us have a very clear idea of what external accomplishments we want to achieve by a certain point in life. And if we don't live up to those expectations, we judge that we have failed. But we cannot force or contrive the cultivation, the embodiment, and the rise of the soul. This form of soul work happens in kairos, which is the Greek word for the soul's timing, which is divine timing. Linear time is incredibly useful for an ego to function, which is essential, but linear time has nothing to do with the essence of who we are or what offering we can make of our lives. The rose is a symbol of the divine feminine, represents an inner surrender that cannot be timed according to the ego or any external circumstances. The rose is about remembering that we cannot force ourselves to ripen, y'all. We cannot will ourselves to be anyone else other than exactly who we are in this moment. Divine acceptance and detachment. If we accept the beauty of where we are right now, we allow the ego to loosen its grasp of linear time. If we remember that an entire universe is perpetually in the process of bloom from within the heart, that's a tearjerker. Everything comes from within. We can be curious about what might be unfolding for us. We can trust our own divine timing. Soul Voice Meditation question. She writes, "What can I trust is unfolding in its own divine timing?" Wow. Beautiful. Okay. Thank you, Megan Watterson. We appreciate you for sharing truths and your soul's work. So one thing that I found was extremely interesting about Megan's deck that she has is something I learned was about the 7 powers of the ego, and Mary explains these in great detail. There's a lot of course, within the ego, lust, greed, and pride that binds us, and trading your body feeds these powers, not your liberation. It feeds your ego. So the concept of Mary Magdalene, her 7 ego powers in the gospel, this is a Gnostic text that was first discovered in 1896. So in this gospel, Mary basically describes a vision where the soul ascends past 7 different powers or obstacles, often linked to ego distortion. Dang, this video is long, guys. This is not about me, it's about we. It's about we. This is for the souls. For the souls. We out ya. Hopefully you can still hear me. Could you imagine? Okay, so in the gospel, Mary basically describes a vision where the souls ascend past these powers linked to the ego's distortions, which some contemporary spiritual thinkers, like our girl here, Megan Watterson, in her book The Mary Magdalene Revealed, reframed as the 7 powers of the ego. These are distinct from the biblical 7 demons, which is found in Luke chapter 8, verse 2, traditionally associated with Mary Magdalene, which later Christian tradition morphed into the 7 deadly sins. But, so, let's go through these. Darkness, ignorance of divine truth. The first power in the Gospel of Mary is darkness, symbolizing the ego's blindness to inner light. And I'm actually going to tie in the Zohar and what the Zohar says about each of these 7 ego deadly sins, okay? So in Zohar 1:15b, basically states that we see the soul as divine radiance obscured by worldly veils. Ego-driven ignorance disconnects us from this source, dimming our spiritual awareness, a barrier to the soul's ascent. Next, divine craving, control of divine desire. Desire, craving, control. The second power of desire reflects the ego's needs to grasp or dominate. In the Zohar, the soul's purity thrives in surrender to the divine will. Zohar 3:81a. Chasing external validation through work like being a bop might trap your soul in fleeting wants, pulling it from a higher calling. Next, the third power, ignorance, forgetting unity, which is an ego's illusion of separation. We're not separate, guys. We're not separate. We're actually one. Returning back to one, back to source. The Zohar basically teaches the souls are threads of one cosmic fabric. I love that. And in Zohar 2, that's Zohar 2:97a, ego-driven isolation, say self-seeking worth through others' approval, will cut off the soul from unity, and it'll actually foster what? Emptiness. The fourth is going to be the zeal for death, self-destruction, hints at the ego's pull towards despair or excess. The Zohar also warns about the Sitra Atra, the dark side. The dark side, luring the soul into ruin. I need to take off some of these bracelets, you know? It's just giving, it's not giving. It's giving restriction of my soul. But I like the sound. I'm almost to the point of taking this off. Oh, snap. We reached that point, guys. We reached that point. Oh, that feels nice. That feels so nice. Okay. Back at it. So, the fourth power, the zeal for death. Basically, the Zohar is warning about the Sitra Artra, the dark side, luring the soul into ruin. Zohar 1, 190a. Pursuing validation through transactional actions could spiral into self-erasure, clashing with the soul's life-affirming essence. You're basically going backward on the scale, guys. You don't want to go backward, you want to go forward. And by forward, I mean up the ladder. Next, the fifth power, which is the kingdom of flesh, material fixation. So, this fifth power ties into the ego to bodily obsessions. The Zohar views the body as a tool for the soul's work, not its master. Zohar 341b. Over-identifying with physicality, like equating worth to sexual appeal, might anchor the soul in the mundane, which stunts growth. And this is all we're here to do is grow, guys. You don't want the opposite. Next, foolish wisdom of the flesh, which is false insight. Sixth power of the ego is shallow reasoning, mistaking surface for depth. The Zohar contrasts this with true wisdom from the tree of life in Zohar 1.1a. Basically relying on egoic validation, risks a hollow existence, misaligning the soul with its quest for eternal truth. Okay. Next, we are already on the seventh power. Nice. Wrath, wisdom, anger at limits is the ego's rebellion against boundaries, your own boundaries. The Zohar sees the soul's peace in aligning with divine harmony, which is in Zohar 2, 142b. Ego-fueled resentment, perhaps the unfulfilled validation, could entangle the soul in conflict and delay liberation. Don't entrap yourself. Don't entrap yourself, guys. In the Gospel of Mary, basically these seven powers challenge the soul's journey upward. Right? They chain you down, right? Which resonates with the Zohar's view of the soul trying to shed impurities to ascend and return to divine root. The Zohar mainly focuses on the kill pot, which is the shells of impurity. And this parallels the idea of ego as spiritual hurdles. If someone is seeking the validation through the bop work or any external fix, these ego powers are going to amplify and reinforce your separation from soul's true nature. You're just getting farther from the truth, guys. I'm not sure where I got this quote, but I wrote, "She rose from stigma to sanctity, proof you can shift your path." And that's why we're all here, to shift together, to align, to ascend. Let's quickly go through the Buddhist perspective on desire and suffering. The Eightfold Path calls the right livelihood work that doesn't harm yourself or others. This path risks your divinity and delays nirvana. The Bapa path, right? Keeping you in samsara, cycle of suffering. The cycle of craving leads to suffering, and how escaping lower vibrational paths requires self-awareness. Okay, next we're going to go into some of Dolores Cannon's teachings. Guys, if y'all haven't been on this Dolores Cannon, if y'all are on it, congrats. If y'all aren't, yeah, start reading. Read books. You read books. I'm telling you, when you read books, you actually download new code, new software to this here noggin here, right? You want to improve, just like you would download new software to a Tesla and improve its functionalities and make it better. Wouldn't you want that from your own body, from your own self? Reading is one of the quickest ways to download new code and perform and operate at a higher level, okay? Now, Dolores Cannon's teachings. Her books are so good. They're so good that it takes me forever to read. Why, you ask? Because I'm opposite of pretty much everyone in life. Most people that have really good books are going to read it very quickly. For me, I like to bask. I like to sit with a word at a time and really let it permeate my soul. I'm obsessed. Between death and life. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you heard that, my stomach growled. Confirmation. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm gonna actually read out of here, and it's gonna be pretty intense. Like, it's gonna be very intense. So let's do a quick intermission. Let this charge. Oh, I grab myself a little snack. Slaps. Like, this is hitting. This is hitting, guys. This is slapping. Wow. Insane. Insane. It's so juicy, it just literally juiced right in my eyeball. Very nice. Now that my lower chakras are super balanced, super rooted, it's time to get into some of Dolores Cannon's teachings. Okay, y'all. Let me see. 65%. Oh, snap. We have been teetering at that percentile. Welcome back. Welcome back. Dolores Cannon. Let's go. So, Dolores Cannon. What she has to say on reincarnation and also on the subject of bop work. Actually, this book right here is why I actually felt it necessary, a calling to actually create this video, if you will. Now, essentially, Dolores Cannon says that we incarnate across levels of existence, and Earth is a school, but some choices will actually, like I was saying earlier, ship us to harsher classrooms next time, which is not what we want, guys. You want life to get easier? You want reincarnations to get easier? You better learn today. Correct your tikkun. with Yeah, let's go. Let's crack these tikkun. If you stay in low vibration, low frequency, which Tesla also talks a lot about, frequency is like the only thing that matters in life, your soul might not ascend, or it can repeat and regress. Another thing I've already spoken on a lot is there's no heaven or hell. And I do kind of want to get into that into more of a different video. There's only energy and frequency and tiers. There's different tiers, there's layers, think of it like VIP clubs. Think of it like, why is this so bright? I kind of hate it. Well, hate's a strong word, y'all. Oh, there we go. Watch it be like too dark. I like it a little bit more dark, you know? Because I'm Batman of the night. Okay. Yeah, I kind of like that. I like contrast. Because that's what my color palette is high contrast. And if you don't know your color palette, what are you doing? Okay. Yeah, so there's no heaven or hell, only energy, frequency, and realms. So when someone just says there's only two things, heaven or hell, think of that as more, it's true to an extent, and it's not true to a lot of extents, to more extents than not. What's true about it is there are different levels. A lower vibrational frequency is going to feel like hell. So it's a vibration of perhaps hell. The definition of insanity. The definition of insanity is repeating things over and over, trying to get a different result. Technically, that is what hell is repeating your cycles, not learning in this lifetime, where you have to come back, or maybe you're in the astral realm waiting to reincarnate and you're in lower vibrational frequency realms. They're not good realms to be in, guys. Imagine all the best times in your life that you felt amazing, those were in you were in higher vibrational frequencies. Maybe even your resting place right now is a higher vibrational frequency. As soon as you get around someone who's lower vibrational, what happens? My skin crawls. I'm like, ugh. Why? Because you don't belong there. You don't belong in lower frequency. If you look at the signs behind frequency, certain sounds repel other sounds. Same thing with our souls. So there are different levels in the astral spiritual realm. In your vibration or frequency, your soul's journey of how far you've come in your own spiritual lessons is where you'll be, right? Within those different frequencies and tiers, spiritual tiers. Dolores Cannon's teachings on soul evolution, levels of existence where souls ascend and descend based on spiritual progress. So, that could be your heaven and your hell, but there are multiple tiers in hell, which hell isn't real, and there are multiple tiers in heaven, which heaven isn't real. What's real is levels. A good way to actually think of it is school. You know how there's so many different, there's kindergarten, first grade, preschool, whatever, right? There's so many different years of school. Think of the astral spiritual realm like that as well, but it's on high to low vibrational frequency. Repetitive negative behaviors keep souls trapped in lower realms. Reincarnation and soul lessons, you'll return to face the consequences of your choices if not resolved right now. Okay, so now I'm going to read from this book right here, the portion that made me want to actually create this video. Thanks, Dolores. I know you're up in the astral realm right now because you're probably not going to reincarnate to Earth, because you're too advanced soul-wise, so you'll probably go somewhere else. But I know you're winking at us, and we're winking back. If I could wink. It's one of my flaws. Okay. Alright, y'all. Let's get into it. I'm looking into to see where we could start. Okay, lower astral realm. This is where we'll start. Not really like a screen. It surrounds you. I'm in the middle of watching it, and he says that the lower astral is just terrible. He says we pray for these lower entities, but it's as if they are tied to Earth. They're not in human form, but they're still on the Earth, and they're like, oh, a sound of disgust. This is gross. Dolores says, what do you see? To set the stage, guys, she's in a regression with one of her patients, and they're having this is the conversation that they're having, that I'm reading to you. Dolores says, what do you see? The person says, well, I just saw someone get shot. The person's very uncomfortable, and there's a whole group of spirits watching that and shouting, oh, isn't that great? Look at those blood and guts. Dolores asks, you mean they were watching a physical person get shot? Her client says they're watching two people, a black man and another black man, had a shootout with each other over a drug deal, and there's like, oh, about 1,000 spirits watching this. It's almost like, oh, there goes another one. Where are we going to go next? Oh, look at that girl. She's getting raped. Raped, yeah. Let's watch that. They're witnessing all this brutality. And the guardian tells me they have to watch this to see how they've lived their own lives. They've lived like this in a very degenerate way. And the guardian says these spirits have to learn from this. So, again, to set the scene, Dolores is in a hypnosis therapy session with her client, and her client is on the other side in the astral realm with a guardian or master, what have you. And the master is helping this client give back this information. So Dolores says, do you mean that after they die they just stay around these areas, or what? The client says, no, they were forced. They couldn't go any higher. Again, soul getting trapped in lower vibrational frequencies. You see, their vibrational rate spiritually is very low. They're a dense vibration, and they can't go any higher up, so they have to watch the physical world. They interact with this world. Dolores states, I was thinking that sounds something like a version of hell. The client says, it is a version. It is hell. Because until they learn how to reincarnate and become more spiritually advanced, sometimes they repeat similar situations over and over and over again. And the guardian says some of them are almost beastly. He used the word beastly. Sounds quite demonic, yeah? Dolores says, I've always thought that there was no such actual place as hell. And the client says, it's a hell for them, yes, because if they used drugs and alcohol in excess or let their lust drive rule them, it still controls them. They still have that desire after they pass over. this is why you gotta make sure you correct your soul now, because any of the things that you have addictions to will come with you. Why? Because you need to correct your tikkun, soul correction. And that's part of it. If you haven't corrected it in this life, it will go with you to the next life and into the spiritual realm. It's still, so let's see, lust drive rule them and it controls them. They still have that desire after they pass over, but they cannot manifest it. That's why it's so important before you leave the planet to not have any of these, what they call vices, because you carry them with you to the next realm. The Guardian says, for instance, we've got people here that want a cigarette, but they can't smoke because we don't have cigarettes over here. So they'll spend time hanging around with physical people that want to smoke. Or we have spirits who have done drugs who want to shoot up and have made a pattern in their lives. They will be around people who are shooting up. Dolores says, you mean they try to get some sensations by osmosis or something like that? Her patient says, yes, they try to. That's why they hang around them. People who have let their lust drive them in this life will be around places where lots of lust is taking place in the human form. This makes me crawl. Like the houses of prostitution, aka bop houses, and things of this type. The Guardian says these are the lower densians of the astral. So, guys, what this means is these bop houses have a bunch of spirits watching them. A bunch of lower vibrational energies and entities lingering in their spaces. And here and there you'll hear stuff on, Instagram or stories or whatever online that'll be like, oh, we had to move again because our house got broken into. Anything you guys know about frequencies, frequency attracts frequency, like attracts like. Lower vibrational frequency with extra lower vibrational entities surrounding it is going to attract lower vibrational energies and humans. So it just becomes a big cesspool of lower vibrational energy. Dolores says it sounds like a vicious cycle, like they aren't going anywhere. How can they get out of that plane? The Guardian says this is why it's necessary for people to pray for their loved ones, because that'll help them to see the light. It is like their own personal hell that they live in. But he says when they sense that they've had enough of this, guardian spirits come to them after they have learned to say, for instance, I'm tired of looking at all these people doing all this stuff I can't do. So these bop houses and stuff have a literal audience, an energy of audience that you can't see with your own eyes, but are there in the energy realm. So eventually your soul grows tired of these obsessions, or what are they? Your soul grows tired of these addictions, basically. And it's like, how many times am I going to watch someone kill someone else, someone do drugs, someone lusting with someone else? So the patient is saying to Dolores, then the guardians come when they're finally ready, these energies on the other side, when they're ready to quit watching. The guardians come and conduct them and start showing them ways they can make a transformation for themselves. But the guardian says when it's time for them to reincarnate again, we do process them he says they all go into the computer room, which is an area where they can be reevaluated. The computer room sets them up and matches the time when an incarnation is going to be taking place and what type of lessons that incarnation will teach. They are shown how they can use that lifetime. Okay, where was I? They are shown how they can use that lifetime quickly, but he says this is all going to be changing very shortly because the earth is going to be too highly evolved for those spirits. So we're going to be shipping these souls out. You know, it's like, okay, you had your chance here. The next boat is going to Arcturus. Who knows where that is? It's kind of funny, actually. The spirit guide can have a good sense of humor. He's jovial. He's a little rotund, and he's saying, yep, you had your chances here. Now we have to ship you out to those other planets that are over near Arcturus. Are those planets that will have negativity on them? Dolores asks. The patient says yes. The guardian says those are still evolving planets, but these spirits won't come back here because this planet Earth is changing. The spirits we are watching are the low, dense vibrational souls. He says now the higher vibrational souls are different. They're elevating, they're set apart. When they cross over, they usually heed for the Temple of Wisdom and Knowledge because they've been there before. Yeah, we'll stop there, guys, but wild. Whew. That's heavy. And this is why it's important for all of us to learn and grow and elevate together. To take as many beautiful souls as we can out of these lower vibrational energies with us to the higher vibrational utopias. Now, if you don't know this, I love Latin. So we got some Latin phrases to reinforce all these concepts. Anima mea in aeternam vivit, which means my soul lives forever. A reminder of your eternal high stakes. Lux in tenebris, light and darkness. You can always choose a brighter path. Fiat lux, let there be light. Choose enlightenment over darkness. Now, before we transition into the science sector, I got my notes here. Dolores talks about all the different levels of existence. It's so fascinating, guys. It's so fascinating. This is my journal, but it's not a linear journal of day-to-day documentation. It's a perpetual journal of learning, which I highly recommend you have one of each. Yeah. Now, we've talked about a lot of metaphysics. We're going to transition into physics. What is physics? Physics is physical laws, essentially. Okay. So this next sector here, which, by the way, we have like less than a third left of content. The Science of the Soul, Quantum Physics and Eternity. Welcome, class. Liquid death. Liquid death. How fitting. How fitting. Liquid death of lower vibrational energy for quantum gain of higher vibrational souls. Ooh. Did I do something there? Perhaps. So, quantum physics basics. The eternal nature of energy. I am going to read from this book as well. Law of conservation of energy. Essentially, guys, the law of conservation of energy is a fundamental thermodynamic principle, stating that energy is not created or destroyed, only transferred or transformed from one form to another. Essentially, this means that within an isolated system, the total amount of energy remains constant, though it may change forms, such as potential energy to kinetic energy, or thermal energy to mechanical work. For example, when you drop a ball, gravitational potential energy converts to kinetic as it falls, and upon impact, energy may dissipate as heat or sound, yet the sum of all energy remains unchanged. The principle is rooted in the first law of thermodynamics, which governs all physical processes, ensuring that energy is merely distributed and redistributed, not lost across interactions in the universe. This is one of science's winks towards reincarnation. Energy cannot be destroyed, only transferred, meaning we do continue to exist beyond this realm, beyond this point, beyond this life. And now I'm going to read from the book. One section on the conservation of energy. Class. 2 hours. Wow. Conservation of energy. Energy is an animating force that makes things move or change. It comes in many guises and may manifest itself as a change in height or speed. You know, I'm actually going to transition us into making sure we're nice and charged up. Let me go ahead and transfer some energy into the phone here. Conservation of energy. Energy is an animating force that makes things move and change. It comes in many guises and may manifest itself as a change in height or speed, traveling electromagnetic waves, or the vibrations of atoms that cause heat. Although energy can metamorphose between these types, the overall amount of energy is always conserved. More cannot be created, and it can never be destroyed. Another wink towards reincarnation. We are all familiar with energy as a basic drive. If we are tired, we lack it. If we are leaping around with joy, we possess it. But what is energy? The energy that fires up our bodies comes from the combusting chemicals, changing molecules from one type into the other, with energy being released in the process. But what type of energy causes a skier to speed down a slope or a light bulb to shine? Can they really be all the same thing? Very curious. Curiouser and curiouser. Coming to so many different guises, energy is difficult to define. Even now, physicists do not know intrinsically what it is, even though they are expert at describing what it does and how to handle it. Energy is a property of matter and space, a sort of fuel. or encapsulated drive with the potential to create, to move, to change. Philosophers of nature, going back to the Greeks, had a vague notion of energy as a force or essence that gives life to objects. And this idea has stuck with them and us through the ages. Energy exchange. Y'all, it was Galileo who first spotted that energy might be transformed from one type to another. Watching a pendulum swing back and forth, he saw that the bob exchanges height for forward motion, and vice versa. As the speed then brings the pendulum back up again before it falls and repeats the cycle. The pendulum bob has no sideways velocity when it is at either peak of its swing and moves most quickly as it passes through the lowest point. Galileo reasoned that there are two forms of energy being swapped for the swinging bob. One is gravitational potential energy, which may raise a body above the earth in opposition to gravity. Gravitational energy needs to be added to lift a mass higher, and it is released when it falls. If you've ever cycled up a steep hill, you know it will take a lot of energy to combat gravity. The other type of energy is the bob. In the bob is kinetic energy, the energy of motion that accompanies speed. So the pendulum converts gravitational potential energy into kinetic energy and vice versa. The canny cyclist uses exactly the same mechanism riding down a steep hill. One could pick up speed and race to the bottom without pedaling, and may use that speed to climb some of the way up the next hill. Likewise, the simple conversion of potential into kinetic energy can be harnessed to fuel our homes. Hydroelectric schemes and tidal barges release water from a height, using its speed to drive turbines and generate electricity, which is pretty wild. Many faces of energy. Energy manifests as many different types that can be held temporarily in different ways. A compressed spring can store within it elastic energy that can be released on demand. Heat energy increases the vibrations of atoms and molecules in hot material, so a metal pan on a cooker heats up because atoms within it are being made to wobble faster by the input of energy. Energy can also be transmitted as electric and magnetic waves, such as light or radio waves, and stored chemical energy may be released by chemical reactions, as happens in our own digestive systems. Quick intermission. Yeah. What I miss? Alright, y'all. Back to reading. This is a very delicate process. Hello. Can anyone hear me? Okay. We're almost done. This is, for anyone who's wondering, 50 Physics Ideas You Really Need to Know by Joanne Baker. Thank you, Joanne. We love you. We love you. I love you. Einstein revealed that mass itself has an associated energy that can be released if the matter is destroyed, so mass and energy are equivalent. And his famous E equals mc squared. E is for energy released by the destruction of a mass. M is the mass m times the speed of light, which is c squared. This energy is released in a nuclear explosion or in the fusion reactions that power our sun. Because it is scaled by the speed of light squared, which is very large, the amount of energy released by destroying even a few atoms is enormous. We consume energy in our homes and use it to power industry. We talk about energy being generated, but in reality, it is being transformed from one type to another. This is wild. We take chemical energy from coal or natural gas and convert it into heat that spins turbines and creates electricity. Ultimately, even the chemical energy in coal and gas comes from the sun, so solar energy is the root of much of what operates on Earth. Even though we worry that energy supplies on Earth are limited, the amount of energy that can be derived from the sun is more than enough to power our needs, if we so harness it. Energy conservation. Energy conservation, as a rule of physics, is more than reducing our use of household energy. It states that the total amount of energy is unchanged despite switching between different types. The concept appeared relatively recently, after many types of energy were studied individually. At the start of the 19th century, Thomas Young introduced the word energy. Before then, this life force was called vis viva by Gottfried Leaps, I can't say that, who originally worked out the mathematics of the pendulum. It was quickly noticed that kinetic energy alone was not conserved. Balls or flywheels slowed down and did not move faster, but fast motions did often cause machines to heat up by friction, such as when boring metal cannon tubes, so experimenters deduced that heat was one destination for released energy. Gradually, on accounting for all the different types of energy in built machines, the scientists began to show that energy is transferred from one type to another and is not destroyed or created. That part. Momentum. The idea of... This is the last section, by the way. We're about through this part. Momentum. The idea of conservation in physics is not limited to energy, to other concepts that are closely related. The conservation of linear momentum and the conservation of angular momentum, with linear momentum being defined as the product of mass and velocity, and describes the difficulty of slowing a moving body. A heavy object moving quickly has high momentum and is difficult to deflect, or stop. So a truck moving at 60 kilometers an hour has more momentum than a car moving at the same speed, and would do even more damage if it hit you. Momentum has not just a size, but because of the velocity, it also acts in a specific direction. Objects that collide exchange momentum such that overall it is conserved both in amount and direction. If you have ever played billiards or pool, you have used this law. As two balls collide, they transfer motion from one to the other so as to conserve momentum. So if you hit a still ball with a moving one, the final paths of both balls will be a combination of the velocity and the direction of the initial moving ball. The speed and direction of both can be worked out assuming the momentum is conserved in all directions. Angular momentum conservation is similar. Angular momentum for an object spinning about a point is defined as the product of the object's linear momentum and the distance it is away from the rotation point. Conservation of angular momentum is used to effect in performances by spinning ice skaters. When their arms and legs are stretched out and they whirl slowly, but as they pull their limbs into their body, they spin faster. We've all seen that. This is because these smaller dimensions require an increased rotational speed to compensate. Try doing this in an office chair and it'll work as well. Conservation of energy and momentum are still basic tenets of modern physics. They are concepts that have found a home in contemporary fields such as general relativity and quantum mechanics, the condensed idea, indestructible energy. So y'all, would you consider yourself energy? Well, you're also indestructible. Okay. Phenomenal. To reiterate again, energy, y'all, isn't created or destroyed, it's transformed. You are not just flesh, you are energy. You are a field of energy. You are a condensed soul. Quantum physics shows consciousness persists beyond the body. Particle physics hints at the concept of entanglement, where particles become linked and share special states. Your choices here echo across lifetimes and space, influencing your next incarnation, rippling across lifetimes in the multiverse. Universe, multiverse, universe, one frequency, multiverse, multiple sounds, multiple frequency. Okay, in quantum mechanics, a cornerstone of particle physics. I love science. Shout out to my older sister Amanda, who is a scientist. You're pretty cool. In quantum mechanics, particle physics, the observer effect suggests that the act of observing a quantum event influences its outcome, like measuring a particle's position alters its momentum. Some theorists, like the physicist Robert Penrose and neuroscientist Stuart Hameroff, propose in their OR, which is the orchestrated objective reduction theory, that consciousness arises from quantum processes within brain cells. They argue that these quantum events might not be confined to classical physical limits. If quantum states can exhibit non-locality, why does that sound like super badass? Non-locality, where particles instantaneously affect each other regardless of distance. Could consciousness tied to such processes have a reach beyond brain's material structure? It hints at a mechanism where mind might not be fully tethered to the body. Consciousness. Another angle involves information theory and physics, the holographic principle tied to the black hole research, which apparently black holes aren't true. And I do agree with that, but suggests that all information in a volume of space can be encoded on its boundary. If consciousness is fundamentally informational rather than material, divine intelligence, AI, SI, supreme intelligence. So if consciousness is fundamentally informational rather than material, as some physicists like Max Tegmark have mused, might it exist that in a form that doesn't rely on the body's hardware? Now, this doesn't quite prove transcendence, but it does offer us a way to look at consciousness as a larger cosmic framework, not just the brain byproduct. Okay. I'm losing energy, guys. Oh my gosh. It's 1:44 a.m. Bless these snacks to our bodies. May they go into all the right biocells that need them most for optimal support and performance. I'm struggling. You're doing great, sweetie. Kylie Jenner, if you see this, I love you. Okay. Back to it. On the flip side, maybe I just need to switch up how I'm sitting, Ooh, it's kind of nice, It's kind of nice. Mainstream neuroscience argues consciousness emerges from complex neural networks. When the brain stops, so does the mind. Particle physics doesn't contradict this, but it provides tools for alternative hypotheses. For instance, David Bohm's implicate order theory posits a deeper reality where all things, including consciousness, unfold from a unified whole. You see how all these things are so interconnected? Crazy. If true, the physical body might be a temporary expression of something more fundamental, like maybe perhaps the soul's vibration. Higher vibrations, love, purpose align with the universal flow, and the universe's flow. Low vibrations, which is exploitation, despair, create dissonance. Now science backs what spirituality knows, which your energy matters. With reincarnation and karma, if energy transfers, so does your soul. What the? Was that a glitch in the system? If energy transfers, so does your soul's imprint. Bad choices do not vanish. Okay? They will weigh you down until corrected. And that could be correction over how many lifetimes you choose, because it is your choice. One Latin phrase I love to reflect on this is memento mori, which is remember that you must die, and prepare your soul accordingly. So the next chapter I want to do is on some of the tarot pulls, and then we're going to get into rising up, healing your soul, embracing the light, and soaring to higher realms, and what you can do. Some practical solutions. If you're currently maybe in the bop realm, and then we'll conclude with an eternal perspective, okay? Yeah. Yes, queen. Yes. Okay. I love tarot. It is a tool to use to help us see differently. If you are a visual person, or you like aesthetics, or you just like to make meaning from things you see, which a lot of us probably do, especially in the age of, for example, Reels and Instagram and all these different visual things that we consume and we create meaning from. Tarot is another. It's the same thing. It's a picture. You ask a question and you get insights depicted from not only the channeled message of the divine, but also inner workings of what you see. So, let's let the cards speak. And I had pulled these cards on this topic, asking for more insight from the divine. And this is the message they gave us for soul correction. So from my Rider-Waite deck, which is one of the classic decks in tarot, the first two cards I pulled were the Ace of Cups and the Five of Cups. I'm going to tell you what they are and the meaning behind it in respects to our topic today: spiritual reasons why you shouldn't become a bop. So, Ace of Cups, Five of Cups. Cups, think emotion. Shiny promises and illusion of fulfillment that turn into regret. Water slips away, leaving you empty. The next two I pulled were the Ten of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles. Real wealth is hard-earned, stable, a legacy, not a quick splash. Hard work leads to stability and lasting fulfillment in this life and the next. And then I pulled the King of Swords, the Emperor, and Judgment. Those three paired together. Power misused. The power of sex. Sex is absolutely a power. Cuts both ways. Judgment comes from the soul's long haul. The strength in the world is what I pulled after that. Your inner strength builds a life that echoes throughout eternity. True victory. The rewards of choosing a higher path. Then we got the Star and the Nine of Swords. Which, what I was getting there was what glitters hides pain. Pouring yourself out leaves scars. False hope and suffering follow. On the bottom of our deck we had Justice, which karma balances the scales an hour later, and that's extremely unavoidable. Balance has to be restored. And then I pulled from my Wisdom Seekers deck. So this is my Rider-Waite. I don't know. My Rider Tarot deck. And then this is my Wisdom Seekers Tarot, which I love. The cards are really beautiful, but also this one's by Professor David Fontana, and he was a fellow at the British Psychological Society and the author of a lot of best-selling books. He's really smart. I really love the way he describes the cards very beautifully, and lots of brevity. Yeah, which basically just means in very little he says a lot. He says a lot in a very poetic, beautiful way. So, from the Wisdom Seekers deck, on this topic I pulled Temperance first, which is harmony between spirit and body, blocked by ego. Choosing the middle way would be the balance between spirit, body, and mind. Then I got the Three of Swords. Fire of pain burns through body, energy, soul. Don't ignite it. Then we got the Justice. This was like it was heavy energy. When I pulled this, I was like, ooh. Swords divide truth from illusion, balance your deeds. Eight of Swords, eternity reflects your choices, break free and stay bound. It's not what we want, guys. The largest takeaway was what the energy of the cards screamed, which is short-term gain, long-term pain. But they also were offering some hope with strength and justice can guide you out. Okay. We're getting there. We're almost done. Next chapter, before we conclude, is healing the soul, embracing the light, soaring to higher realms. You guys, the soul, your soul, our souls whisper soft but steady, you're more important than this short-term gratification. Whether you're tethered and tangled in the grip of survival or just seeking a brighter hum within, your ladder rung by rung is to be in a higher vibrational state. Again, we only judge ourselves, so there's no judgment here other than your own judgment to yourself. But your own hand is reaching out, and we will climb together. No judgment, no shame. Survival is not the summit, it's the foothills. Your soul's a lantern, you are a light, flickering from more than a shadowed corner. You're not changed to this chapter in your life if you're currently involved in these lower vibrational frequency paths. The first thing you need to do is recognize that you want more for your soul, and you need to tell yourself, which also whispers to the universe and the divine, that you're ready for more. They'll hear this courage that you're taking to change your path and correct your tikkun, your self-correction. Even when it's hard, they'll be there to support you. That's what they want for you too. So some practical steps to shift the ground beneath you if you are a part of this if this is currently your state of being, are these lower vibrational jobs. You want to start small, but be fierce. What can you do? You can seek help. Reach out to friends, mentors, community, therapy, and reach out for help. Because a lot of times we're not supposed to do these things on our own, guys. We have each other to support us, to learn to grow together. We are one universe, one frequency. Well, one mix of a bunch of frequencies. Other things you can do is put your time elsewhere, learn a trade, or whatever else you love outside of Boptown. What do you love? Start pouring into that. Maybe it's making clothing, maybe it's making music. Pour into a different outlet of creativity that you can also make money from over time. Do something that you can have pride in, right? That gives back. Of course, one thing we can also do is meditate, right? And you can do affirmations. Anytime that you find your mind slipping into lower vibrational states, worry, resentment, hate, whatever it might be, concern, like just lower vibrational energy states, what you can do is go onto YouTube and turn on some affirmations for whatever it is you need to work on. There are affirmations on YouTube for literally everything. If you're like, oh man, I'm feeling really down about XYZ, maybe it's, I'm feeling really down about my addictions and I want to change, you can turn on affirmations for chopping off these addictions, and it really does work, guys. It starts to re-alter your subconscious. Your subconscious is what's actually controlling your conscious. So, download new code, and you can be rewired to act differently and show up differently in the world. Meditation, of course, we all know that's like one of the best things we can do, and we need to be doing that every day. Dr. Gabor Mate whispers a lot of wisdom. Healing blooms when you face the wound, not when you smother it with noise. Journal the pain, let it spill, then let it go. You're not patching a crack, you're forging a new foundation. Some more spiritual tools to lift the veil, whether you're currently practicing these bop jobs or you're not. This is for everyone, all souls. Pray, of course, like it's your last breath. Dopamine. Oh, wait. I'm getting tired. It's 2 a.m. It does not say dopamine. It's my Latin phrase that says Domen dirige me ad lucem, Lord guide me to the light. Latin's old magic aligns your impulse and your pulse with source, but any tongue works if your heart's in it. Call on your ancestors, your angels, and your spirit guides. Yes, we all have spirit guides. Even these lower vibrational entities and energies in consciousness forms have spirit guides. Ask them for help, and they will help you. You have to be communicative. Visualize your soul rising. Visualization is one of the most powerful things. How we really can communicate and connect with the divine is we visualize exactly what we want. Exactly what we want in our lives, exactly what we want to create, exactly where we want to go. Because when we visualize that, we're sending that frequency, that picture. It's like sending a text message of a video to them and being like, hey, this is how I want my life to look. And they're like, okay, yeah, thank you for giving us these details. We can make this work. But anyway, so like what I wrote here is visualize your soul rising. Picture it as a metallic thread weaving through the stars when you're in meditation. Dolores Cannon taught us intent carves the path to our next life, so see yourself as glowing, whole, unbounded, which is what you are. Hold that image in your mind until it just hums frequently throughout your bones. Cleanse the static, sage your space. Cleanse your energy. Cleanse your frequency. You can hum or do alms or write a hymn. But basically, it's like lower vibrational energy is somewhat similar to dust. It just clings, but it can be erased and removed as long as you are consistent about it. Are you consistently showing up, thinking about the long term for your soul, for your spirit, not just the short term, right here, right now? So, our soul's ascent call us to higher paths. Declutter your mind, drop any grudges, mute the scroll. Trade gossip for gratitude. Walk barefoot on grass, hug a tree. Hug a tree. Go hug a tree. Drink sunlight, bask in it. Let nature tune your frequency. The Earth's frequency, the Schumann resonance, is shifting as well. Volunteer. It's a great way to up-level your frequency. When you lift others, you lift too. You rise. We rise together. Basically, at the end of the day, guys, something that's really important to understand is the soul does not, I repeat, the soul does not care where you've been. It cares where you're going. Right? It cares where you're going. Have that long-term vision. Craft a pinnacle, not a puddle. I don't know why that's funny. It's an alliteration. It's not a sprint. It's a dance of eternity, of the cosmic weave that we're all interweaving and webbing together. Do the things that call your soul. If you're miserable in your current work, do the things that call your soul. If you're miserable with empty gratification, do the things that call your soul and actually provide real fulfillment. Maybe it's teaching, maybe it's crafting, maybe it's music, maybe it's dance. Whatever your gift is, lean into your gift. Because that's what the world actually needs. That's what everyone needs, is you and your gift. That's why you are here. Heal your trauma that whispers you're less. Therapy is actually gold. And crying to the moon till you're empty of doubt. Reading as well, spiritual texts. Reading spiritual texts is not about being religious. It's about staying in alignment with core values to stay on your spiritual path. Chase abundance that feeds, not drains. Sell your art. Tutor children. Grow herbs. Flow without costing your coin. Coin can flow without costing your core, your soul. The Zohar again remembers that the soul thrives when aligned with purpose, not tethered to trade-offs. The power of sacred words and soul correction. I just stated this, but basically I'm going to reiterate. Read holy words daily. Read spiritual scripts. Bible, Zohar, Rumi, whatever sparks your fire. It's not dogma, it's code. Rewiring your brain's rusty circuits. Rusty. 10 minutes of scripture plants seeds. Truth roots deep, very deep. Crowding out and pushing away lies and lower vibrational frequencies. Ask for soul correction. Praying, kneeling, palms up. Ask for repair. Ask for soul repair. Divine guidance isn't shy, it'll nudge you to your dreams. Right through them. You'll just start to know. Maybe if you don't understand, what is my gift? Ask what your gift is, and it will be shown. It will be revealed. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, guys, okay? We want that grease, so you be squeaky out there. Trust the pull. It's your compass to climb. And what I'm saying today, you guys, maybe some of these things are the first time you've ever heard this in this lifetime, but if you quietly listen, if you just quiet the noise of everything else, drown out everything else, and you listen to some of the words that I have spoken, and maybe re-listen, and maybe it's the first time you've ever heard some of these things, but if you sit with yourself and you think, you'll be like, wait, this is true. Singing is a great way to raise your vibrational frequency. I wonder why. Sound. Sing to anything. Dance. Even if you're clumsy. Even if you're rigid, more rigid than a 10-week-old breadstick from... What's that one place called? That has breadsticks? I digress. Guys, I'm really fading. I'm fading. It's okay. It's okay. It's 2:08 in the morning. Okay. We're almost done. We're actually almost done. What you eat, what you consume, what you watch, what you read, who you hang around, all these things affect your frequency, what you do. Thoughts, words, actions, manifest. Eat well. Drink water. Breathe. Sunlight. Like things that will just make you feel better. And bring your soul up to higher frequency. Speak kindness to mirrors, to others. Words are spells that lift or sink. That's good. Rest intentionally. Sleep with prayer. Tell your subconscious what you want to solve before you go to bed. That way, when you wake up tomorrow, it will probably be with an answer, or it will be closer. Sleep with a prayer. Wake up with a vow. Set your intention. Your soul's a flame. Tend it gently. Watch it blaze. So poetic. So now we conclude. Hopefully, I'm like now seeing sideways too much to even check if my phone is about to go into low battery, which I feel like I should check. 57, we're chillin'. We got energy for days. For eons, for lifetimes. Okay, let's conclude, guys. I gotta wrap this up. Hope for the journey. Take the eternal perspective, yeah. That's what we're out here to do. Some reflection. We're all imperfect, stumbling upwards towards source together, right? I've been close to the edge. I know the pool. Yeah. My stomach is growling because I've used so much brain power. Your soul. But your soul's worth isn't in what you sell. It's what and who you become in the process, in the journey. A little word of encouragement. There's no hell but what we make. No heaven but what we choose. Pick strength, pick love, pick eternity. You are not alone. We're in this together. I am rooting for you. We are rooting for we. It's not about shame, but truth and love, guiding our souls to the highest potential. No matter where you are in life, you can always choose, because it is your choice to choose the higher path. Avoid the bop trap, you guys. It is a trap. Live with purpose, because your soul's journey depends on it. and you are valuable, and you are worth it, and you are loved. Even if no one on this planet Earth tells you you are loved because you are here, and you are here for a divine purpose, for a divine journey, and you are backed by the divine. They've got your back. They are rooting for you. Seek knowledge, seek self-awareness. Absolute key. True fulfillment beyond temporary pleasures. Ask for soul correction. Pray, meditate. Again, pray, meditate. Again and again. With intention. For example, you could say, Source, guide my soul to balance. Science does say intention shifts energy, and the Kabbalah speaks about this a lot. Spirit says it redeems you. Ask for the middle way, moderations in all things to maintain the harmony with your soul in the physical plane and the spiritual plane, the material world. Reflect on all your choices and how they are shaping your next life. Y'all, let's not get shipped out to Artemis or whatever the heck. That does not sound good. Let's not go backwards. You think you had some issues here in this life? Do you want to have worse issues in the next life? That is sounding like hell. That is what would be considered hell. Repeating very low vibrational cycles. So, if you resonated with anything I said, drop a comment. Like and subscribe. So we can keep growing together. Guys, we made it. My final Latin blessing. Pax anime tua. Peace to your soul. Many blessings. And I love you. We rise.